Okay, good morning, millionaires. Good morning, millionaires. Happy second day of spring. I think this is the second day of spring right here. I hope everybody's feeling good. Give me a replay, gang. If you're watching the replay, I know we got people checking in from all over the country and sometimes all over the world. My name is Haziq Ali. I'm a revenue acceleration expert. Don't let that go over your head. I've helped businesses go from 0 to 100 since I was a youngin'. You know what I mean? Way before I had kids in college and all that. Well, slow down, Haziq. One kid in college. Let me slow down. It ain't kids yet. But the point is, I've been doing this a long time. And along the way, what I discovered is that a lot of people could get a lot more than they actually want, and they settle for a lot less than they could actually get. You know what I mean? And that's what we call self-esteem. Self-esteem is the level of success that you will expect or accept. You get what I mean? Self-esteem is what keeps you pushing through that valley to get to the next peak. Self-esteem is what gives you the power, the internal power to be able to learn past any obstacles, learn past any roadblocks, learn past any speed bumps. Self-esteem is what determines the quality of your group. I'm so glad some of you are tuned in this morning because you're going to notice a different attitude from me as it relates to how we cultivate and how we push our group forward. Because I learned something powerful this past week when I was at this thing. It's called the weirdest event ever. And I was out there with a bunch of people, like some of our friends had just put down payments on $26 million homes, or, you know, everybody there is like Rolls Royce and supercarred up. You know, all of these supercars. You know what I mean by a supercar? Like something that's like 500,000 or more. You just walk outside and the parking lot looks like one of them posters that maybe you had on your wall when you were in high school, like motivation for higher education. And what they were talking about is that, like, the main problem with your group is not who you choose to work with, it's who you don't refuse to work with. So starting today, you're going to notice something. I'm not having it if you come in with these comments at the end of the call and it's in three different categories. One, the category you're just speaking up to be heard, right? Because you're making a joke out of it. And then the upper echelon that's in the group is like, oh, this must be for jokes. This must be for losers. You know what I mean? Second category is when you're speaking up just because you're nervous. We're done with that. The third category of stupid question is when you are speaking up just on something that you have no intentions on taking action on. You're going to see me start being a little bit more helpful to you. You're going to start seeing me be a little bit more of an accountability partner in that world, because I want to create a culture that is going to keep all of us motivated. A lot of times we talk about motivation, y'all, like it's this magical answer to everything you want. You start saying to yourself, oh, if I was motivated, I would lose that weight. If I was motivated, I would write that book. If I was motivated, then I would start that business. If I was motivated, then I would keep that business rolling. So how do we develop the habits and the mind power that's needed to stay motivated on a daily basis? I'm going to give you 5 steps this morning. But here's my question before I begin. What if motivation never strikes? What are you going to do then? Are you just going to languish and marinate in the sweat of anxiety and fear and mediocre lifestyle? Are you going to take that bad attitude and infect other people to have good attitudes? What are you going to do if motivation never strikes? Is motivation really the solution? I hear people a lot of times, because obviously I'm a coach, I hear them say things like, if I could just find the motivation to blank. But inside this sentence is an implication. Inside this sentence is an implication. You hear me, Trina? You hear me, Glenn? Inside this statement, there's an implication here, Erica. The implication is that motivation is a solution to your problems. So in your mind, you're like, if I was motivated, I would pay off that debt, right? If I was motivated, then I would find that new job, right? But what if that ain't the case? What if motivation isn't the solution? Millionaires, somebody give me this in the comments. What if motivation is a consequence of the actions you take? What if motivation isn't the solution? What if it's a consequence of the action you take? You know how to be like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? What comes first, the motivation or the action? You know, I believe that life is kind of like a dance between the two. It's a dance between your desire and your fear. It's a dance between your motivation and your action. The two of them kind of work together to ignite each other. But who makes the first move, millionaire? Who makes the first move? Millionaires, who leads the dance? Who takes the first step? Let's get practical for a minute this morning. What's easier to do in the next 5 minutes? Find incredible motivation or take action? What do you think is the easiest to do in the next 5 minutes? Find this incredible motivation or take action? Motivation ain't something that can be summoned upon demand, y'all. But action, that's a whole different beast, baby. Right now, even you can take one step toward getting what you want in your life. In case you don't know, the answer is yeah. You can take action right now. You can take action right now. You want to write a book? Write page 1. You want to lose weight? Go on a run. Want to find a new job? Send out your resume. So we all clear that action. Yeah, I see it. We're all clear that action, right? Motivation stems from action. That's right, Tiffany. So we're all clear that action is the play. Ain't that right, Vita Lachey? Ain't that right, Miss Tiffany? But all of this brings us another question. Is motivation a consequence of your actions, or are your actions a consequence of your motivation? Because there's a big misunderstanding about this motivation thing. Yeah, somebody give me that. Motivation stems from action. And then give me a share. Motivation stems from action. The more of your circle you can get to understand this, the more powerful your circle is going to be. Because you got to change your friends, or you got to change your friends. The unfortunate misunderstanding of motivation, y'all, is that, yeah, you got to be motivated to achieve what you want. Yeah, motivation is dope, right? Motivation is dope. Ain't no way around it. It feels good. It gets us excited. But motivation can be fickle, because motivation is here 1 minute and gone the next. I believe that there are 2 types of motivation. There's short-term motivation and there's long-term motivation. Let's break them down. Short-term motivation is really shallow. Short-term motivation is really fickle. It's vulnerable to the ebbs and flows of life, the circumstances, the things that happen around you, right? Long-term motivation is the exact opposite. It ain't fickle at all. It's not shallow even a little bit. It's not vulnerable to the economy. It's not vulnerable to what news story just now came up. It's not vulnerable to the experts or anything else in the outside world. It's a deep, lasting, intrinsic kind of motivation. It's internal. You feel it deep in your soul. This is what we're referring to this morning as lifelong motivation. So here's the question. How can you develop the lifelong kind? Y'all ready? I'm going to give you a 5-step process that my therapist gave me that helps you to create lifelong motivation. You ready? It goes like this. Step number 1, identify and write down exactly what you want. That's step number 1. Somebody give me that and then give me a share. Identify and write down exactly what you want. Because above everything else, you got to identify your purpose. It's all about that mindset that allows you to identify your purpose. Way before you get to nourishing your purpose or cherishing your purpose, first you have to have the mindset to identify your purpose. You got to know why you were put here on this earth. And when you know exactly where you want to go, that starts to plant the seeds for the lifelong side of motivation. You hear what I'm saying to you? Here's a great exercise you can use to start gaining clarity on where you want to go in your life. Take out a piece of paper, y'all. later on the day, maybe at lunchtime, and get ready to write. Imagine 5 years have passed. Everything you've wanted to accomplish has happened. What's your day like? What activities do you do? What relationships do you have? How do you make money? How much money do you make? How do you feel? What are your hobbies? You see that? That's 7 different questions that should spark you to write and then write some more. Here's step number 2. Write down why you want it. You know, one thing that we learned this past week, he's like, how much money do you want to make? And then the second question was, why not less than that? Why not less? What a powerful question. Why won't less money do? Because let's be real, y'all. You don't rise to the level of your dream. You fall to the level of your system. And as a part of your system, you don't know why you want this. Knowing what you want is the first step, y'all. But knowing why you want it is what feeds your motivation. It's what feeds that hunger. It's what feeds that beast you got inside. Basically, what you're doing is establishing a purpose for your purpose, babe. You're establishing a purpose for your purpose. You hear me? So look over your 5-year vision, because that 5 years is going to pass no matter what. You can let that 5 years pass while you're getting real deep into a Netflix show, or you can let that 5 years pass as you're making your own life a movie. But the 5 years is going to pass regardless. Look over that 5-year vision you just laid out with them 7 questions I gave you. Then write down your response to this question, millionaire. Why do you want to achieve this vision? What impact will it have on your life if you fulfill this vision? Now you got some power when you wake up in the morning. Now you got some power when lunchtime hits. Now you got some power to say, I'm going to watch that show later on. I'm going to talk to this particular person who's fun to talk to, but they a damn distraction. I'm going to talk to them later on. Here's number 3. Develop the step-by-step plan. Develop the step-by-step plan. Yeah, the journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step. You knew that. But check this out. A killer of motivation is ambiguity. Somebody write this in the comments. Lack of clarity kills motivation. Clarity is power. Lack of clarity kills your motivation. Therefore, to nurture motivation, right, you need to gain knowledge. You got to establish clarity. This is why personal development is so important. This is why we always pressing you out to read books. This is why we always pressing you out to watch documentaries that are about people who are where you want to go in some way. Don't just be a collector of information. How are you going to transform yourself if you are not developing your personality? Because you know your personality is going to create your personal reality. What are you doing to develop your personality? Millionaires, a critical part of gaining clarity is you identifying the specific steps that you got to take to fulfill your vision. Am I making sense? Look at that 5-year vision. Begin to write out the specific steps you'll need to take to fulfill that vision. Don't make this difficult. Don't make this all drawn out. Nobody's asking you to be like Dostoevsky. You aren't going to know all the steps, but you are going to know some of the steps. Do you hear me? Develop the plan. It don't have to be perfect, but it's got to be something. And by creating this plan, what you've done is you started to create a map that you can start working with. Here's step number 4. I only got 2 more for you. Here's step number 4. Fyodor Dostoevsky. He wrote War and Peace. Here's step number 4. Take action on step 1. So what I'm saying is your 5-year plan ain't got to read like War and Peace. War and Peace is a really long book. How's that? Here's step number 4. Take action on step number 1. So you put together the plan to fulfill your vision. Now's when the rubber hits the road. You need to take action on step number 1. You've identified exactly where you want to go, right? You've identified why this vision matters. You've identified a plan to fulfill the vision. Now it's time to take a step. You can't just stare up the steps. You got to step up the stairs, right? And it's that action that is the bridge between your vision and its fulfillment. Now you got an alignment between your daily action and where you want to go over the long term. Don't you know even your children lose motivation at the point that they stop seeing what they're doing as connected to what they want? All my Kaizenites know, sometimes we might want to ask our kids, hey, what's easier for you? Finish your vegetables or lose the Wi-Fi password for the rest of the year? They're like, oh, let me eat my vegetables. Right. You got to put some meaning and purpose to this activity. Or it's like, why am I eating vegetables again? Oh, so I can keep the Wi-Fi password. Right. And then here's number 5, y'all. Reflect and then adjust. Somebody give me reflect and then adjust, and then share this on a timeline of a friend you love. Share this in a Facebook group so that we have something to hold each other accountable to this week. Reflect and adjust. After about a week, what we're saying is take a look at the actions you've taken. Reflection allows you to learn from your experiences and increase the rate at which you achieve. You said you wanted this. Let's see where we're going, baby. What this allows you to do is constantly learn and grow as you move forward. As you learn and grow, you'll become the person you need to be to fulfill your vision. Look at the actions you took over the course of the last week. The reason why I want you guys there live and in person in these Kaizen Academy classes, y'all, is because we purposely take a week between. I know that you can just binge watch the classes, but then you're going to miss the point where you're able to reflect and adjust. Millionaires, wisdom don't come from the passing of time. Wisdom comes from reflection. Wisdom comes from reflection. And the only proof that you have learned something is the adjustment in your course of action. So here are 3 questions I want you to look at for step number 5. Number 1, what actions are moving you towards your 5-year vision? Keep doing these. Keep doing these. These are the ones that we're going to keep up, right? Here's the second thing I got for you. What actions are preventing you from achieving your 5-year vision? These are your stops. So we just made a list of your starts, your keep goings, but now we got a list of the ones we need to stop. And here's the third question for you. What one action can you start taking this week that will accelerate you towards your vision? Immediately implement this one. It's affirmation time, but I just want you to remember one thing, man. I want you to remember one thing. Millionaires, one of the biggest killers of your motivation, if you tuned in to this particular episode because you want to know the secret, right? Check it out. Biggest secret I can give you this morning is that one of the biggest killers of your motivation is a lack of knowledge. Lack of knowledge is a motivation killer. Garbage in, garbage out. If all you're doing is collecting garbage, then all you can give out to the world is garbage. Every 2 years, 50% of your knowledge is obsolete. 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, now 80% of your knowledge is obsolete. You're not going to get rich from what you know. You're only going to get rich from what you learn. And a huge killer of motivation is a lack of knowledge. You hear me, millionaires? Once you feel like you're just running on a treadmill, it kills your motivation. You're only human. It would kill anybody's motivation. By taking the time to step back and assess, millionaires, these actions, this plan, now you're giving yourself fuel. Now you're giving yourself fuel for your motivation. So call in right now, y'all. We're gonna do some affirmations, but then we're gonna spend the day doing some application, right? Because here's the simple reality. You can spend a lifetime waiting on motivation to strike, and it might never happen. But right now, in this moment, with this day, you can take action. Hopefully you look at the steps I just gave you in your power book, and you can see immediately that when you take action, you give yourself the opportunity to gain some motivation. Millionaires, remember this. You're much more likely to act your way into a feeling than you are to feel your way into acting. Repeat after me, say it like you mean it. I am so happy and grateful